Morning Date. You're joining us for another edition of Morning Date, and joining us in the studio today is the Managing Director of the Korean office for the Tourism Board Destination Canada, Anna Lee, 이영숙 대표님 모셨습니다. 안녕하세요. It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. I'm very glad to be here today.
I'm very, very happy to have you here in the studio. Let's start off with a little bit about yourself. And I understand that you are actually a fan of the show too. Is that correct?
Very true. I've been a big fan of Moningspecial for a long time.
Wow.
Actually, since the 이보영 선생님 was hosting.
Of course.
And you are a great host as well, 수
Thank
선생님.
you. Oh, that means a lot.
Yeah.
You've made my day, actually. Thank you so much.
So now I enjoy listening the morning special with my daughter, actually. So
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself, a brief intro, if you will.
So I, as you introduced me to the audience, I'm Anna Lee, Young-suk, and I'm working for Destination Canada to promote Canada as a premium four-season destination to South Korean travelers in Korea.
Uh-huh. Well, many people don't know this, but you are actually the brains behind on-location filming in Canada for the TV drama series Goblin or Guardian, the Lonely and Great God. 공유, 김고은, 유인나, 육성재 씨가 나온 도깨비의 캐나다 현지 촬영의 주역을 맡으셨다고요. Tell us about that.
Yes, so it was in 2016, and year to 2016, we had about 30%, actually 38% of air capacity increase. And we needed to capitalize on this significant increase in direct air capacity to Toronto from Korea. But we wanted to differentiate Canada creatively from our competition with the challenge of introducing the new part of the country to South Korean travelers who are actually primarily knowledgeable about British Columbia, Alberta, and Ontario.
Right. And so how did you get to, take on this role, and how did you choose the location and all of that? Give us the details.
Right. As I mentioned, other parts of Canada, like BC, British Columbia, Alberta, and Ontario, they were quite relatively well known to South Korean travelers.
Right.
But with this air increase, air capacity, we needed to introduce some other new place in the country, and it was Quebec. And
That's the French-speaking part.
yes.
Yeah.
And when I read the storyline of the drama series, and I thought the Quebec City, the characters the city has, it's just a perfect match for the drama. So I pitched what the Quebec City has to offer to the drama production, and the team of the production company actually they visited Quebec City to have the inspection tour, and they loved it. So we started from there.
Right. Quebec is near Montreal, right?
Yes.
And you must have been there many times yourself as well.
Yep. Number of times.
And what was that experience like, working with the production staff and everything?
So it was an unforgettable memory for me, and it was a really big team. We had about 70 people.
That many?
Yes, including, as you mentioned, the Kong Yu and Kim Go-eun.
Wow.
And also the Korean production company, they hired local production company. So the group was about 100 people.
I see.
So we rocked the city.
Yeah, I can imagine.
The local media, actually, they were really interested in this project, and they interviewed us, and we were all over the city for 2 weeks.
와우. 이 현지 촬영을 하게 됐을 당시에 스태프들이 이제 캐나다 스태프과 이제 한국 스태프 다 포함해서 한 100명 정도가 됐었다고요. 이야, 굉장히 많은 분들이 같이 일을 하셨었네요. And apparently you can find out more about this if you go to the Destination Canada website, right?
Yes, absolutely.
네, 웹사이트에 가셔서 각 지역에 대한 또 이 촬영 장소에 대한 정보는 더 온라인으로 찾으실 수 있습니다. So let's talk about Quebec since you mentioned it. How far is it from Seoul by plane?
So unfortunately, there is no direct flight
I
between
see.
Quebec City and Korea yet. But with the huge success of this drama series, I
Yeah.
hope we can have direct flight soon. Um, so at the moment, from Korea to Toronto, it takes about 13 hours
I see.
direct, and then between Toronto and Quebec City, it takes about one and a half hours.
아하, 토론토로 먼저 가서 그 다음에 이제 비행기를 갈아타서 퀘벡으로 가는군요. I see. And I understand that Quebec is in Quebec province. So how many provinces are there?
So in Canada, we have 10 provinces and 3 territories.
I see. What are the main attractions there?
In Quebec,
Uh-huh.
so besides Quebec City, there are a number of major tourist attractions as well. And you must hear of Montreal.
Yeah, of course.
Yes. So Montreal is the second largest city after Toronto in Canada,
see.
with lots of festivals, including the world-renowned Montreal Jazz Festival.
Right.
And it's a big, busy, and exhilarating city with so much to see and do. I don't know if you've heard of Montreal.
Well, I have now.
Yes.
Right.
It's a resort area northwest of Montreal, and
right.
it is year-round resort in Quebec. And it features acclaimed winter sports and golf courses, and especially the thing that I like about this resort is the pedestrian shopping village.
No cars. No cars.
No cars,
Right, love
very
that.
convenient
Yeah.
for the tourists. And also the Charlevoix region. It's a 1.5 hour drive away from Quebec City. And it's a cultural and natural region located in Quebec province. And it's a north shore of the St. Lawrence River. And as well as in the Laurentian Mountains area of the Canadian Shield. So it has a dramatic landscape, including the rolling terrain and even fjords
Wow.
and headlands and bays. So you can find so much to do, especially the outdoor activities in the nature here in Charlevoix.
Well, I'm actually looking at the map right now as we're speaking, and so many familiar names of places that you just mentioned there. But of course, Montreal and Quebec are all on towards the east of the capital, Ottawa. And it's still surprising to me that sometimes people will not realize that that is the capital city of Canada. But then I have to admit, I didn't know 20 years ago either. But Nova Scotia is quite close by, and Steve, who's on the show daily with me in the first hour, he is from that region. Are you familiar with Nova Scotia?
Yes, I've been there a few times. And Nova Scotia is it's also a very beautiful place to visit.
Yeah.
And it is the most populous of Canada's 3 maritime provinces that
see.
are Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, and Prince Edward Islands. And the capital city of this province is Halifax. And you are very much familiar with, I believe, Titanic.
Yes.
So there is a connection between Titanic and Halifax.
Which
So
is?
when the Titanic sank, the Halifax was the closest, the major port city, and the ships were sent to recover the bodies of the victims.
Really?
So in Halifax, you can find Titanic exhibits, and actually the unidentified bodies actually buried in Halifax Cemetery.
그렇군요. 우리가 이제 퀘벡 얘기를 하다가 뭐 몬트리올 얘기도 했고 그다음에 조금 더 동쪽으로 노바스코샤 할리팩스까지 왔습니다. 스티브 선생님의 고향이기도 한데요. 할리팩스가 노바스코샤의 뭐 수도격이다 이렇게 얘기를 해주셨는데 여기서는 타이타닉과 관련된 뮤지엄이 있다고 말씀하셨잖아요.
네네.
네, 박물관이 있다. 왜냐하면은 침몰 당시에 가장 가까운 육지가 바로 이 할리팩스였기 때문에 그때 뭐 구조 요청을 좀 이쪽에서 했었나 봐요. Wow, so lots of history related to the Titanic there. But I mean, Canada is so huge. I mean, I know we have so much to cover. And we will do that bit by bit after we take our first song break, if you don't mind. Let's listen to Natalie Imbruglia, that is, with Torn, and we'll be right back. You're listening to Morning Date, and we're very happy to be sitting down with Anna Lee, 캐나다 관광청 한국 사무소의 이영숙 대표님과 오늘 함께하고 있습니다. 캐나다의 매력에 푹 빠지고 있어요. 조금 전에 음악 듣기 전에 우리가 할리팩스 얘기를 잠깐 했었는데 좀 뭐 덧붙일 얘기가 있을까요? Tell us a bit more about Halifax.
Yes. So, in addition to Halifax, I like to talk about Lunenburg. It's a beautiful small town, and it was designated as World Heritage Site by UNESCO.
Oh.
And also, the Nova Scotia has a number of beautiful lighthouses around the island.
Yeah.
And one of the most photogenic spots in Canada is Peggy's Cove.
Peggy's Cove.
Yes, it has beautiful lighthouse there.
Wow.
And also, I have to mention that the Cape Breton Island in Nova Scotia, it has such amazing, breathtaking Cabot Trail, and I really highly recommend if you like hiking, then you should visit Cabot
really?
Trail there.
Cape Breton
Island.
노바스코샤에서 약간 북동쪽에 있는 곳이네요.
네.
그 옆에 시드니라는 도시도 보입니다. 호주의 시드니가 아니라 노바스코샤에 있는 시드니가 되고 노바스코샤 자체도 뉴 스코틀랜드라는 뜻이잖아요.
맞아요.
원래 그래서 저는 이제 영국에서 살다 왔기 때문에 처음에 이 명칭에 대한 설명을 들었을 때 굉장히 반갑기도 하고 스코틀랜드 같이 생겼나 했는데 사진을 보니까 풍경은 많이 다르더라고요.
네네.
스코틀랜드는 이제 좀 더 산이 많고 들이 많고 이렇다면은 여기는 호수도 뭐 어마어마하게 크게 있고 굉장히 아름다운 것 같습니다. 저도 꼭 한번 가보고 싶은 그런 곳입니다.
네.
I'm also curious to know how you first got interested in Canada.
Well, long time ago, like back in 1996, I went to Vancouver as an ESL student to learn English. And that was my very first visit to Canada. And also, it was first time to be away from my family.
Really?
A long time.
Do you remember that moment, the first day you arrived in
Yes.
this new country?
Yes.
What was it like?
It's still very vivid.
Yeah.
And it was in January.
Oh,
And usually,
the best time to visit Canada is in the winter.
but Vancouver is,
Quite warm.
Yes,
Yes,
quite
yeah.
warm. But usually, with the winter time for Vancouver, they get lots of rain.
Oh.
But when I arrived in Vancouver, I was lucky enough to have, blue sky.
Oh, wow.
And my host family, they came to the airport to pick me up, and that I still remember the blue sky and the crisp air, and everything was so perfect.
Sounds like love at first sight.
Yes.
와우. 96년도에 처음으로 어학연수를 위해서 이렇게 밴쿠버에 가셨던 게 처음 캐나다와의 그 인연을 맺은 계기가 됐군요. And how long were you there in Canada?
A year.
Okay, I see. So you had a great first impression, obviously, of Canada and Vancouver in particular, and then you, I suppose, came back. And did you have a longing to go back? Did you think, I always, have that in my mind? Did you think I'm going to work for something related to Canada?
Yes, very much.
Oh.
And ever since my time in Canada, Canada has been my second home. And it's not just work for me, it's more than that. And
Yeah.
I have a personal affection to
Sure.
Canada.
I can imagine. Well, you're not alone. because some very famous people from the UK also have decided to call Vancouver their new home. And of course, I'm talking about Harry and Meghan, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. I don't think I can call them Royal Highnesses anymore because they've been stripped of that title. Anyhow, they've also chosen to stay in Vancouver. Vancouver Island, I think, is where they are. Is that close?
Yes, Vancouver Island is very close to Vancouver. And Victoria, the capital city of British Columbia, is actually on that island.
I see.
So by ferry, it takes about 1.5 hours from Vancouver and 30 minutes by plane. So very close.
그렇군요. Vancouver Island. 네, 아일랜드 그렇군요. 굉장히 큰 아일랜드입니다. 지금 제가 지도를 보고 있는데. And I think our own Walter is not too far away from this particular part of the world because he's in Abbotsford, which I think is quite close to Vancouver in the southeast of that part of the world. But anyhow, going back to your story, after your English learning adventure and you came back, did you start working in the tourism industry immediately?
So I had to finish my years in college.
Sure.
And after I graduated from the college, I actually looked for a job in tourism. And the reason why I wanted to work in the tourism industry was that when I was in Vancouver, actually I got to learn about the convention industry. And so after I returned to Korea, I took a professional convention organizer courses after graduation of college. And then my first job as a professional was meeting organizer for UNDP, UN Development Program at Seoul National University.
Right.
And then I worked for a convention center in Dallas, Texas, US for a while. And then I extended my professional career experiences in tourism for destination marketing with Destination Canada.
And here you are today.
Yes.
Well, when I look at the Canada Tourism website for Korea, there's a handful of destinations on the main page. So let's look at some of them. The Northern Lights, 그 오로라라고 하죠. 이게 북유럽에서만 우리가 볼 수 있는 게 아니라 캐나다에서도 굉장히 환상적인 모습이다 이런 얘기를 제가 주변에서도 많이 들었습니다. This is in Yukon, is that right?
Yes.
So tell us about that. Where is Yukon territory? How far is it by, not by plane, but of course by plane, from Seoul, I should say.
Right.
Is there a direct flight? How do you get there?
So first of all, thank you very much, Sue, for mentioning Yukon, which is a very lesser known region in Canada for Korean travelers. So Yukon is located the north of British Columbia, and it is bordering Alaska,
I see.
U.S., and Northwest Territories and British Columbia. And unfortunately, there is no direct flight from Korea to Yukon, but there is a direct flight between Vancouver and Whitehorse in Yukon, and it takes about 2.5 hours.
아, 그렇군요. 바로 그 알래스카의 접경 지역이라고 볼 수 있는데요. 유콘으로 가는 직항은 없지만 이렇게 경유를 해서 갈 수는 있습니다. 그럼 뭐 1년 내내 이 오로라를 볼 수 있는 건가요? When can you see the Northern Lights here?
So actually, the aurora is active year-round.
Wow.
But you have to have the enough hours of absolute darkness to see the aurora. So the best timing for aurora viewing is from mid-November to the beginning of April.
Wow.
And also not just the winter season, but also from late August until the beginning of October, you can see the aurora borealis in northern Canada.
Pretty much all year round, except for some of the spring and early summer months. 그렇군요. 11월에서 4월 사이, 그리고 또 8월에서 10월 사이에 유콘 지역에 가시면은 Northern Lights, 오로라를 보실 수 있습니다. Have you seen it yourself?
Yes.
Oh, you have. This is one of the things on my bucket list.
Oh,
I
yes.
just really would love to go and see the Northern Lights myself. What's it like?
So it's natural the light display in the skies.
Yeah.
And the common color of aurora is green.
Yes.
But depending on the level of aurora, actually it shows you different colors like a pink, purple,
wow.
blue, yellow.
Yeah.
So many different colors. And for me, it was just an amazing experience. I visited Whitehorse in Yukon and also Yellowknife in Northwest Territories, and I have seen auroras in both places, and it was like how can I say, moving curtain,
Yeah.
like dancing show.
Yeah.
And many the visitors who visit those places to see the auroras, actually they cry.
Why? Because it's so
They're just so
touching and
touching.
moving.
Yes.
Really? I remember actually a few months back we had a guest from Greenland, and she said that in Greenland she's seen the Northern Lights many times, but for her, she says it's a little bit scary. So I guess everyone has different experiences. But yeah, definitely something I would like to check out myself. Now, you briefly mentioned Yellowknife, which is another place where they have beautiful Northern Lights. Can you tell us more about tourism there as well?
So Yellowknife is in the Northwest Territories, and Northwest Territories is one of Canada's, I would say, the best kept travel secrets. And the landscape in this territory is pristine and very diverse, with vistas ranging from spectacular waterfalls to towering mountains flanked by the distinctive low-growing greenery of the Arctic tundra.
Right.
And Yellowknife is the number one, actually, aurora destination in Canada. And if you stay like longer than 3 nights, then the percentage of the chance of your seeing the aurora is 97%.
Wow, 3 nights.
Yes.
최소한 3박을 옐로우나이프에서 하시면은 오로라 보실 확률이 97%라고 합니다.
So,
wow.
so at night, of course, the aurora viewing is this signature experience. But during daytime, you can enjoy a variety of outdoor activities, such as dog sledding,
Yeah.
and the snowmobiling. And the Yellowknife, it has a small town with culinary experiences, and also you can enjoy shopping. If you like furs,
Yeah.
then it's a great place to shop furs.
That's a good tip for people out there who like that sort of stuff. And let's talk about some foods there. You mentioned the culinary experience briefly there as well, but what sort of foods can people enjoy when they're in Canada?
Well, while the immense size of Canada and the diversity of its inhabitants compounds the difficult in identifying
Sure.
a specific Canadian food identity, but a lot of people they talk about poutine,
Oh yeah.
and it's fries topped with a gravy and cheese curd, and it's originally from Quebec,
I see.
but you can find poutine many places in Canada. And also there's Nanaimo bars.
What's that?
And Nanaimo is actually the name of the place in British Columbia, and it's a no-bake bars.
Aha.
And it has 3 layers. So the crunch base with like the chopped nuts, and then the like a custardy, the middle part, and then chocolate top.
Oh my
Very,
goodness.
very
Sounds
sweet.
delicious and very sweet as well. Yeah.
And if you visit Nanaimo in British Columbia, actually Nanaimo is in on the Vancouver Island. And if you visit there, there is a Nanaimo Bar Trail. So
Really?
you can go over many different Nanaimo bars there.
Ah, how fascinating. And of course, maple syrup, I think people have with everything, right?
Yes. So if you visit Canada, then maple syrup is the best souvenir you should buy. And Beavertails. Have you ever heard of Beavertails?
No.
So it sounds scary,
Yeah.
yucky, but it's not like real Beavertails, of course.
Okay,
But it
good.
looks like it.
Ah.
It's a dessert. It's a pastry,
Oh, okay.
and the fried toe, it's stretched to look like a beaver tail, and you topped with so many magical fixings like like caramel and bananas and M&Ms and crushed Oreos and
Wow.
just, you name it. So
I didn't realize that there's so many sweet foods in Canada.
yes.
Wow.
And think
all right.
about like a cold winter time in
Oh, that's
Ottawa.
true. Yeah.
You enjoy outdoor like ice skating, and then with hot chocolate
Yeah.
and beaver tails and sweets, it treats you really well.
Aha, how interesting. So the next time I go to Canada, I'll have to try poutine, Nanaimo bart, and beaver tail. All right, that's good to know. We're going to take another song break, and when we come back, we'll talk more about Canada. This time we have Tamia, Officially Missing You. We're back with Anna Lee, 캐나다 관광청 한국사무소 이영숙 대표님과 캐나다 관광에 대해 얘기하고 있습니다. Well, there are so many places to talk about, and we briefly mentioned some different foods in Canada, although there's such a diverse range, as you said, because Canada is huge. I mean, but yeah, poutine, maple syrup, and some of the pastry and the sweet stuff you can find there. Seafood, I understand, is great too because it's so fresh, especially if you're in the areas where you can get it directly.
Yes. So with the geographic benefits Canada has, Canada is surrounded by three different oceans, and the lobster you mentioned, it's well known in Atlantic Canada regions. And if you visit like Halifax, the city that we talked about earlier, if you visit like a McDonald's there, they have lobster
Burgers. Really?
yes, lobster roll sandwich there.
Wow.
Lobster in Atlantic Canada and salmon and other fresh seafood in British Columbia and AAA Alberta beef in the Canadian Rockies and the Calgary.
Sounds so good.
Yes.
Well, let's talk about another very famous landmark in Canada, and that would be Niagara Falls. Now, Niagara Falls has a Canada side and a US side. I believe it's in New York that you can go to the US side, although they say don't go. After you visit the falls, what else can you do there?
Oh, well, so before I talk about your trip to other places around the falls, actually, I'd like to let you know that there are various ways to enjoy the falls.
Yeah.
Not just with your eyes. So you can get the fantastic views from the helicopter ride.
Wow.
And you get the adrenaline flowing with zip lining overlooking the falls.
Oh.
And up close the falls with boat ride.
Uh-huh.
And also a journey behind the falls.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so you should make sure that you fully enjoy the falls with your five senses, not just with your eyes.
Definitely. I've done the boat ride. Is the journey behind the falls a walk in behind the falls,
Right.
is it? Yeah.
Yes,
I think
exactly.
I saw people do that when I was on the boat.
Oh.
And I thought, wow, that looks really fun. But you do definitely get completely soaked.
Yes.
Which is why they give you raincoats. But not too useful, I found.
Right.
But anyway, wonderful experience, definitely. And so picturesque. I heard that the things have changed there, perhaps since I was there, because I was there a very long time ago. I think it was the 90s. But they now have, the tower has a new sort of walk. The CN Tower is what I'm referring to right now, near the waterfalls. Right.
So Toronto, the largest city in Canada, it's only 1.5 hour drive from Niagara Falls, and it's a, you can say that it's a world in a city.
Yeah.
You can meet with 80 different languages and people around the world.
80?
Yes.
Wow.
So you can experience so many different cuisines. And as you mentioned, the CN Tower, recently they added a new experience there. So you actually walk around the how do you say, the head of the
It's like the
tower.
observatory deck almost,
Yes.
but you mean you actually walk
Around that
outside of the
outside.
building. You are attached to the building though, aren't you?
Of
By a
course.
wire or something, right?
Yes.
I see. Wow.
So
Talk
it's
about
called edgy
adrenaline.
walk.
그래요. 토론토에 있는 그 CN 타워에서는 이제 그 전망대에서 밖에 나와가지고 몸에 와이어를 부착해서 마치 건물 외벽에 이렇게 걷는 것 같은 그런 체험도 할 수 있다고 합니다. 거기서 그 나이아가라 폴스가 보이죠?
네.
네, 봤던 기억이 나는 것 같은데 오래돼서 네, 가물가물하네요.
맑은 날에는 시야가 확보가 되면서
네.
네네 나야가라 폭포까지 보실 수
와,
있습니다.
거기 타워 위에서 이렇게 와이어 하나 몸에 매달고 이렇게 걸으면서 폭포를 보면은 또 상당한 스릴이 있을 것 같습니다. Now, let's talk about snow sports. Where are the famous or best places for snow sports in Canada?
Excuse me. Canada is a perfect winter travel destination, as you would expect, and we have a lot of snow in Canada.
Yes.
The skiing in Whistler, the 2010 Winter Olympic host city, is the perfect place to enjoy extraordinary skiing experience. And Canadian Rockies become an amazing the winter playground in winter season. You can enjoy so many different outdoor activities in the snow, such as ice skating on the frozen Lake Louise.
Wow.
Just imagine this.
Yeah.
And snowmobiling and dog sledding and winter hiking, snowshoeing, just so many different outdoor activities. And of course, skiing as well.
Yeah. Have you done any skiing in Canada?
Yes, many different places, not only Whistler and Canadian Rockies, but also the eastern part of Canada. They have beautiful ski resorts as well.
Wow. Well, it's not just snow sports. You can enjoy baseball in Canada as well. And specifically the Blue Jays, I think, are very happy to have our very own Yuhandin join the team. A lot of my Canadian friends, when they heard this news, they were like, yay! Very, very excited.
Yeah.
Sports is a big thing in Canada, isn't it?
Yes, very much. Especially like ice hockey, of course.
Yes, ice hockey. Oh, yeah. I feel like all Canadians love hockey.
Yes.
Is there a Canadian that doesn't like hockey? I have yet to meet one, I have to say. But aside from sports, though, what about wild animals? Do you have to worry about that in Canada?
With pristine Mother Nature in Canada, you have high chance to meet with wild animals. But as just a normal travelers, I wouldn't say you should be very much careful about wild animals, and unless you like go deep in the nature, remote areas, you are safe.
Okay,
And for example, if you go to Churchill in Manitoba, it's a capital of polar bears. And to see the polar bears, you actually you are on board the special the vehicle called a tundra buggy. So you can see the polar bears in a safe environment.
아하, 야생동물이 많기는 하지만 안전하게 볼 수 있는 방법들도 있고 도심지에 있다면은 뭐 크게 위험하지 않을 것으로 그렇게 예상을 할 수 있겠습니다. All right, well, before we wrap up, for someone in Korea who's never been to Canada, and let's say they only have 1 week to visit, what would you recommend to them?
Well, this is the hardest question actually. And honestly, I can't choose one.
Yeah, it's a difficult question, isn't it?
Yeah, and Canada is a place where everyone actually can find what they can enjoy, depending on what your trip purpose is.
Yeah.
So I recommend you first think about what your trip purpose is, and you can find what you want in Canada. And what I like to tell you is that what you need is just be yourself and be curious.
Right.
And just immerse yourself in Canada and interact with locals as much as possible.
Right.
And then you will find yourself, your heart glow in Canada.
And when in doubt, make sure to check out Destination Canada. 캐나다 관광청 한국 사무소의 도움을 또 받으시면은 더욱 더 즐거운 여행이 되지 않을까 싶습니다. Thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank you very much for having me. It was great.
네,